Tammy, you ready? Okay. I'd like to call this order, the meeting of the Village of Roscommon. Once again, it is being recorded meeting, so no comments or. No comments.
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Roddy. Crystal,
Here.
Schmeckel,
Here.
Medina,
Here.
Letterman.
To the flag of the United States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The difference of the village and then the place is. The next item is 1.25 approval of absence. Maureen is absent because she has a death in the family. I get that approved as a excused absence. Sure. Okay, mind the excuse.
I second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
Pass. Tony did.
Kind of.
Okay, next item will be approval of consent agenda with deletion of approval of minutes of February 26th, DDA minutes. Ron printed the agenda. We'll have 2 copies of it for next. To the meeting.
And I'll make the motion we accept the consent agenda with those to be paid in the sum of $9,074.82.
Yeah, first, I think so. There's a second. Then I just went. Is that what we'll do?
Medina. Fischel.
Yes.
Cook. Yes. Letterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Schmeckel. Yeah. Motion carries.
Next is approval of the regular agenda. Can I get enough?
Okay.
Fischel.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yeah.
Cook. Yeah. Medina. Miller.
Yeah.
Letterman. Motion carries.
The next item will be May. Good evening, everyone, and thank you guys for being at tonight's meeting. I'm here, yes, there's a little turnout. I went to the county and the township clerks to find out more of what has to be, what steps one has to take in order to run for office here in the village. So I will be getting those out and so I just want to give you a first copy of that, kind of step by step. We will have 3 open seats in November. And then the present position is open every 2 years as well. Thanks. You guys see if there's anything that you might if I missed it. No, please. The master plan update, Heather Democrat is working on chapters 2, 4, 5, and 6, and she will be in attendance at our next plan commission meeting. She's currently trying to do chapter 5 for us and get that sent to us prior to the next month meeting. The plan commission spent last month going through chapter 2. A lot of chapter 2 is the census information and such. So we have a few questions on some of that. For example, a question that I have according to the record that NEMCOG sent to us, we have 95 vacant households in this community. That number just seems pretty high to me. If that's the case, we don't really have the housing. issue. And so anyways, we want to ask questions like, from what census report did you pull the information from? And maybe it also includes cottages and things like that are seasonal, and so that's just one example of what you want her to break down those numbers for us here. Typically at our March council meeting, Aaron Mueller, our auditor is normally here, giving us audit report. I called him last week, just touch base with him. And he said, "Do I have one more week?" And I said, "No, thanks, I was trying to knock out two audits and he goes, Monday, huh?" And I said, "Well, is April a better week for you?" It was much better, just because I only have the booklets current yet, probably be at our April council, you can give the audit. I told him to give us a few more reds or gold stars on there since we worked with them and started giving them the I'm not sure, some of you signed up and, but that free, session training that we had last week kicked off the Open Meetings Act. It's an hour long. It's informative. There's things there. It's a good refresher of maybe practices that we should follow or reinforce that we are following. But it's every Thursday from 12 to 1. And there's also a link that you can go on and you can review the session, recorded. So if you are interested in doing that and if have not contacted me, let me know and I'll get you signed up. It's $20 a week, but if you want to sign up for all three, it's $50. So we have that money in our training line item. So if that's something you want to do, you can. Next weekend or this week, for example, is parliamentary procedure. And the last week is just governor to just kind of extra policies and stuff that need to be there. So did anyone else listen to that yet or follow it? The picture platform made and ready to go. So, it's again, it's I sent out the renewal application for the renewal retail recreation marijuana permit. The permits, close the first year, they haven't opened. Once we accepted the application, then that's the date that we use every year that they have to renew. All the inspections are done, everything is set to go. They are just waiting for the state to grant them the license. That could take a couple months, it could take up to 6 months, but they are eagerly waiting for that. They are ready to open. So anyway, I told them that the application is a good payment and it's due by the end of April. So I'm hoping that they get it, if you get them, so they make a little money, get them programs on before that's pay for their permitting it to us. Myself, just money paid. Yeah, and the way that money broken down, it's just kind of like anything else, the more licenses and stuff that, then the smaller the piece of pie gets, and so a few years ago, all of these areas got a pretty good check written to them that whether it was a village portion or whether it went for the store portion, but for it's kind of both now. So it'd be interesting to see how that trend continues. We have a full distribution on Saturday, the 23rd of March, the North County Fair Public School Bus Garage. And everything else, you might list Is it on the agenda? Okay, any questions for Don?
Right. Those permits that they have to apply for, is that yearly or just once again?
Yes, yearly. So that's a fact. And that's how some of these communities are making a lot of money. Yeah, how many facilities you allow, it's up to $5,000 net. And I know one community that gets $185,000 a year. Just from rent fees. But when they wrote up their ordinance and such, maybe the way it was written up was challenged in court, and so there was some discrimination type of charges brought forward, and so instead of each council member being sued and the village being sued, they just said, heck with it, let's have them go wherever. That's why, like, Beaver has, I don't know how many, like 18 or 19 permits within 4 blocks.
Wow.
You know, and some of the towns are just getting saturated with the marijuana stores or whatnot. So when we wrote ours up, we spent extra time defining that, and our policy makes the decision for us. You know, if anyone can apply, but the way that funnel is set up, we don't necessarily have to pick. Who is awarded permit is based upon the criteria, and it just keeps eliminating. If by chance we have 2 groups that wouldn't make it to the final step, then you go back to hand their application.
The first application fee was $5,000. What is it, 5,000 every year? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for him? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is public acknowledgement on agenda items. 2 minutes per speaker. Okay, if not, we'll move on to unfinished business, DPW report. This is not with us, so Ron had.
They gave me a report today, February 28th, we had a power outage due to storms and high winds, and the crew worked together to keep generators for the lift stations. Therefore, to help power, winds will get about PM, and until all the power had been restored. So I appreciate that you've been working, that's for always being ahead. They have been, day to day, they have been working on, continuing to clear up brush and trees that were down from the winds and areas. In the area this week, they are, we have a training session with Scott from Benefit on a GIS system. Our GIS system is basically a GPS. So on our system, they can pull up on their phones where all the water and sewer lines are, storm drains, and where things enter, which way they flow and such. Since we have upgraded our sewer system and such, this is part of that package, getting that done. So they're going to be having some additional training this week on that. Michigan Rural Water Association is holding the 2024 conference this month. The conference is run in Mount Pleasant. I normally send our crew there because to maintain their licenses for water, sewer, such, they have to put in so many hours of training of class time. So they will be going on March 20th and 21st, and they'll really drive it back full. So, the session. As part of the land grant, there's another land grant, one of the things that kind of came out of the water basins, where we have to identify all the service lines that go from the main to the house and make sure there's no lead lines. What we have found in our village, we did find one lead line, so far, but other than that, our lines, when we place them, they're all copper, they don't go PVC or blue copper. There's some of the fittings on the lead lines that are galvanized. And you're fine as long as you don't disturb the ground. Once you disturb the ground, they just blow, so we've been replacing those, and And I currently have about 20 lines that they have to locate and just identify. And then the next phase of the demand is to replace lines. And we've been replacing, if we replace like 5% a year, and we've been doing that, we're ahead of schedule. I have tried to write a few grants to see if there's money out there that we can utilize. We could, we could. Charge that to the property owner. I don't, and DPW would struggle with that, but you don't think that they go to someone and say, oh, by the way, you gotta replace the line is $3,000, you know, so we're gonna continue to replace, 5% a year, they have to be all replaced by 2023. So, or sure, 2030. So we have a few weeks, that, and we're gonna just keep knocking them out, we'll just keep looking for the grant money to help subsidize that cost, so you can get, to $1 million. What we're doing currently, the only cost that would incur would be inside the house, if there's something that has that there, and our line goes 16 inches inside the house, and so if there's any spurting down that, the homeowner will be responsible for, I didn't get it ready, but what the building policies. So that's all Debbie has.
Okay, any questions for Rod? Translate back to Deb. If not, we'll move on to Economic Director Report, Mr. Perry Ellis. Good.
Wave at us, Sue, if you can hear Jim. Okay.
Cool.
All right. She was texting me during the meeting to let me know.
Working well. You seem to be okay on this one? Are they okay on the mic?
When you turn and look at me, I can't hear a thing.
Okay, how about this? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Take mine.
I can hear Tammy. I can hear Joanne when she talks, and Angela.
I've never had a problem where they couldn't.
Well, I know that.
Test. Can
Oh,
you hear?
that's good.
All
Okay.
right. Perfect. All right. Good deal. Okay. Hey, happy spring, everybody. I don't know if we're done with the snow, but fingers crossed here. Real quick, I had a really cool experience. As you know, the village is a redevelopment ready community. We've been using the term RRC. It puts us at the front of the line for a lot of economic development and grants and so on and so forth. This was a 2-3 year process. I know a number of you went through this process with Ron and Dan. I was doing my training last week. It was the last one, and they used lots of examples of communities that have been successful since their RRC designation or their Main Street designation, which is kind of the step up. So I'm watching these examples, and there are about 80 people from around the state on this Zoom call, including myself. And if you guys remember, if those of you that were part of that, if you remember Pablo was directing this seminar, and he was bringing up Holland and Zeeland and Fenton and East Lansing and these cities that have a lot going on. But then he reiterated that if you want a really good example of a RRC community in the north, look no further than Roscommon. So I got a little bit proud, and then he then, out of 80 people sitting in on this call, he said, well, Jim from Roscommon, he's on this call. And so they put me on the spot a little bit, and I had to give a little credit to you folks and Dan and Ron, because most of the footwork with RRC was done prior to me, but the fruits of that we're starting to see with a lot of the cool things that we've got going downtown. So I wanted to pass that along, that the MEDC and the folks down in Lansing do believe that Roscommon has it going on. So I wanted to pass that along to you a little bit. You may have heard me talk last month about the Match on Main grants that the MEDC put on hold this year. No sooner did we tell you that they were on hold, that we got an email a couple days later that said, "Oh, it's back on. We found some money." And so we quickly tried to get the word. I talked to Tracy at the Chamber of Commerce to get the word back out to the businesses that it's on. Just a quick reminder, that's a $25,000 grant with a 10% match. So a business would have to put up $2,500. And there are a lot of things that they can use that money for. It isn't just facades. It isn't, just capital sorts of things. You can actually buy inventory or it can be capital things, new roof, whatever. If you know any business owners that are in need of something, make sure that they get a hold of us and get that mom grant application. That the application will, I forgot the date, but because they changed it. But the application deadline's about a month away. So there's a little bit of time, but there isn't a whole lot of time. So if you know of anybody, have them get a hold of me. So we're also in a little bit of a dead period with regards to housing. You may have remembered, I've been chairing the Housing Task Force, and the Housing Task Force had applied for a needs study. Well, the study's just about done, but the money and the incentive programs from MISTA are not done. They're having us wait till April. So I've actually had a couple micro emerging developers, smaller developers that might say, "Hey, I want to put up a duplex or a couple single family homes. What kind of grant programs are out there?" And so I've been having to tell them, just wait, they're going to roll some programs out in April. So end of April, I'm assuming. And so that's coming. And the governor's housing plan that was rolled out last year has a 5-year timeline to begin in 2024. It just hasn't begun yet. And so hold tight. Hopefully we see some great housing development going on here in the village, which is well needed. The senior class of 2024 Roscommon High School banners, you remember those we hung last year? We've got that program going again this year. The seniors have a deadline to get their photos and their sponsorship in, I believe by their spring break, which is in a couple, 2-3 weeks. Yeah, 21st. So it's coming up here shortly. The business owners in town, to their credit, did their own little thing over Valentine's Day. And there were actually a couple different promotions going on, Valentine's in the village, and I believe the other group had Galentine or something like that. So there are a couple different things, and this just goes to show how proactive our businesses have become over the last couple of years. And they're planning a St. Patrick's Saturday event called Shenanigans in the Village. And so be watching social media and flyers and so forth. I believe most of the businesses are going to partake in Shenanigans in the Village. I'm not 100% sure what that entails yet, but be watching your social media for that. I may have mentioned, I know I did in the other meetings, DDA meeting, about an intern. If you remember, I mentioned that some graduates from the University of Michigan just showed up one day here at our village hall. There were probably 6 or 7 of them. And had a great talk. They said we wanted to visit a small town in northern Michigan and see how it runs. And they were graduate students in the urban planning program at U of M. It's actually globally known, this program. And one of the young men, he was from Singapore, and he sent me an email and said, "Are you interested in an intern this summer?" And I thought, here's somebody who is used to Singapore, New York City style urban planning, and he wants to come to Roscommon. And I said, why Roscommon? And he said, well, I really want to see the inner workings of how decentralized government, to him, decentralized government is the towns and villages actually get to make a decision. It doesn't all come down from the top. And so he wanted to see how a lot of this decentralized decision-making works in the small towns in the United States. And so we have a host family for him. And looks like we're gonna run with him. His name's Russell. And we'll introduce you to him probably in a couple council meetings, I think, May, possibly. That's all I have. Any questions?
Question from Mr. Perry-Ellis.
I just have one. Who's hosting the shenanigans in the village? Not hosting, who's chairing it?
The Chamber of Commerce, I believe, is gonna do that. Does that sound right? Kurt and Monica? Yeah. Yeah.
It should be fun.
Kurt, Monica.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
That
other
it?
questions for Mr. Perry?
I hear secondhand and hearsay and so forth. I haven't actually talked to Josh and Ashley myself, but as I understand, and maybe somebody here can confirm, that they did eventually find out who the auction owner is. Yeah. Sure. No, I think that's a good decision on their part.
I've been buying ice cream.
Aren't very many places selling ice cream right now, but with the weather, it's the way it is, they probably ought to. Yeah, that's great.
I think they're doing well.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perry. Yes, sir. Next item is Hiawatha Project, Mr. Alden.
Uh, This manual here is the manual for the Hiawatha project. It kind of breaks down all the different things that will occur in this picture back here. This photo back here in the dotted line here. That takes place this year. Currently, we have our environmental study is completed. That was that 600 some pages
Wow.
in that environmental study alone. And so when we finished that, and we had to finish that because Eagle came in at the beginning of this a couple of years ago and looked the property over and said, yeah, you're not in the floodland. We're in the flood zone. You're all set. When they wrote up the report, they said, well, yes, you are. So we couldn't get them to tell us, well, are we or aren't we? So, after 4 or 5 months of trying to get them to return a phone call or an email or text, we said, okay, what's our options? We can go ahead and have everything ready to go. But they said, no, we said you're in the flood zone. Now we gotta stop and start all over again. So we had to go through this 8-point phase, this phase. And you've heard me talk about, we had to get in touch with all the Native American tribes in the state to make sure that that's not a sacred town. We had to do an archaeological study to make sure that, there's not, no burial spot or something with, artifacts in there that shouldn't be moved. We had to go back and then on all of these things, we had to get so many bids and then take that back to MEDC. MEDC would go through all their bids and say, okay, yeah, they look fine, go ahead and sign them. So everything was just, that paperwork had to shuffle through so many hands, it just took forever to do so. We had to take the house even though part of the project was to demo the house. But we had to prove that the house was blighted. So we had to pay to have 3 different contractors go in there. Go through and give us a detailed explanation of what needs to be fixed to bring that up to code. And if it costs more than 50% of the value of the house, then they would classify it as being blighted. So again, all these steps were just, there was nothing quick about it at all. Tammy and I have a meeting with MEDC every Wednesday at 9:30 for the last 3 to 4 months at least. And so we're finally at a point now where this week in the paper, you're gonna see a couple things. One, you're gonna see the job bid. We're gonna bid it out, okay? We have so many days to get the bid in. And then things are working. This is the second time that we have bid it out. Last time when we bid it out, since we didn't have the environmental study done, to award the bid, you had so many days and we elapsed the number of days, so we had to start all over. So now we have to go back and change the drawing a bit. You will also see this week, there was, in the paper, pertaining to the project here, the pre-bid meeting, I have contacted the contractors that bid on it, last time. They are still interested. So what happens now, let's just say the new bids come in. This grant that we got, or that we haven't officially received it yet, but the grant was like $1.1 million. And that includes our portion as well. Well, when the first bids came in, the bid that we were looking at was $900,000, which was good because we could put a few more bells and whistles in that and make it look nice. Well, since then, with the cost of construction and materials and such, they think that's gonna go up 20 to 30% more. So we're hoping that the new bids come in well within that 1.1 million. If it doesn't, let's just say our lowest bid comes in at 1.4 or 1.5 million. Then what we have to do is we have to take those bids and we have to go to the MEDC board and plead for more money for the grant. Part of this delay has not been on us. Okay, and I'm not considering to point the fingers, but when there's more government involved, it slows the process up. We have had 3 different project managers from MEDC since the start of this project. So they said that they agreed that part of the fault lies on their shoulders and that we should go back to the board. And I said, well, how long would that take? Well, probably 90 days. And it's like, okay, so I mean, that's just the way this whole thing has worked. So I'm praying that the bids come in reasonable enough where we don't have to go back to the MEDC board. I think we can get the money. I just don't want to wait another 90 days in order to do so, because then guess what? The bid window's probably expired, and we'll have to do that again. So it's kind of like a dog chasing his tail. You just don't know exactly just where you're gonna end up. So if all goes well though, the bids will go early April. We'll have the closing. MEDC will take the bids like they did last time, go through them, make sure everyone's comparing apples to apples and such. Fix any corrections that need to be fixed. And then hopefully in late April, early May, the bid could be awarded. Once we get to that point, MEDC will officially then give us the grant. They told us we're getting a grant, but they haven't given it to us officially. The money hasn't showed up yet. So once we get to that point, now we can go to contractors and start planning and going from there. Some contractors had told me that maybe they have enough time this spring to knock everything down to get it ready for construction. Maybe stay away during the canoe season, so they're not in tripping on people trying to use the launch there. And then in the fall, put this thing together and have it ready to go, by, let's just say, the end of October. Other contractors have said, with this early spring we've had and this mild winter, we're not sitting too bad, so we just have to kind of keep our fingers crossed and see what scenario works out best for us, but the Hiawatha project is, getting closer, and, hopefully we can launch this thing and get it going, but if anyone wants to look at this manual, you're more than welcome to,
Check it out. I'll wait a couple of days. I may be able to see that.
I just wouldn't wanna have a quiz on it. That's what I have for the Hiawatha project.
Any questions for Ron?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we get the bid and the grant money comes through but the bids are so much higher than that, will we still go for the project to be completed, or
Yes.
even though you're gonna reapply for more money, but
In the pot now, the turn
to turn back,
Right,
yeah,
if it was 2 years ago, I'd probably say, yeah, but but we're there now. It's just, our option is going to be this. If it's more, but not a lot more, maybe we just said, we'll just pay for the difference, let's just get this thing going. Or if it's substantially more, then we might say, well, let's go and ask, NEDC for additional
or
funds.
something,
That is probably my last resort.
yeah.
I'd like to just try to see where we can go and go for this. Because again, the third phase of this project is that the pedestrian bridge.
Right.
And that price hasn't gone down since we started this, and so soon we can get to that point where we can get phase 1 and 2 completed and ready to go to phase 3, it's just gonna take a little down the road.
Thank you.
MEDC, what they did last time, MEDC again takes all the bids, goes through and make sure everything is accountable as far as what the bid entails. From there, they'll come back and they start with the lowest bid, okay? And so in order for the lowest bidder not to get it, you gotta find a fault, something they missed, or something that, maybe they're not bonded for that much, or something like that. And, but if not, and MEDC will say, we will support this bid. You can take a higher bid, that we're only paying for this amount, so, the last time it kind of worked out. Well, I think it's gonna work out again, good. The nice thing is 2 of the 3 bidders were somewhat local. One was very local, one was born and raised here, and the third one has done a lot of work in that area, but it doesn't have to here. So we have preached through this whole process. We want to support local as much as possible, and they have been very receptive to that.
Any other questions for Ron on that one? If not, we'll move on to the next one, which is the EDA water and sewer grant update, Mr. Owen.
Okay, now another grant we're working on. This EPA grant, if you remember, it's a $3.5 million grant. And is to put water and sewer throughout our industrial park. We have had some pretty good success selling some lots and such, but I know that there's some businesses that are on about moving in there and starting a business if they have to pay for water and sewer from the corner, up. Some of the prices might run as much as a couple $100 a foot, to run those lines. This $3.5 million grant not only takes care of the water and sewer, but it's the fire hydrants, the curb stops, everything else. I mean, it's gonna be done. The gentleman who we are working with, feels that we stand a good chance to get that grant. He goes, I can't guarantee anything, but he says, what you're doing and the way you want to expand, businesses and such, that's exactly what they're looking for. Our matching on that is 40%. So, which is gonna be a pretty good chunk of change, $1.4 million. What I'm hoping to do, I sat down with Trent about a month ago now, when he was here. And we went through our budget and we thought that we could come up with $750,000 from our water and sewer and general fund. To pay for part of that 1.4 million that we have to fund. Where we may have to get a loan for the additional amount. And but he said your revenue will not have any problem covering that. So it's not like we have to go back to the taxpayers or anything like that. It's something that we could just handle it internally, okay? Our part of the grant will be done. I've contacted 6 different businesses that either have purchased land in the industrial park or have inquired about doing that, and asked them for a letter of support, stating that if water and sewer was there, how that would help save them money and help speed the process up as far as putting in a new business and such. They have all been very cooperative and willing to do so. We have the assurance from our accountant that again, we have the financial backing to do this. And then the last part we have to do, there's some things we have to put in the paper, you'll see this week as well. One of the requirements from EDA is that they want you to bid out your engineering process. So we are gonna have something in the paper this week that's gonna, any engineer that wants to bid on this job, they can bid on, kind of raise out the skills of the job, stuff like this. I know a lot of you, some more than others, have just wondered over the years, where we're going to industrial park, and it's something that I think it's gonna be, if you build it, it will come, type of scenario. We are getting some hits now. We have sold 6 lots here in the last few years, and that's without water and sewer, so I think if we had those utilities set up in there. Now, again, the owner's still gonna have to pay for electrical and gas, if that's the way that they want to go, so they're still gonna have some costs involved. But I think it would really attract people as far as going in there and kind of setting that industrial part of what it was meant for, getting some businesses and then. So, if you're gonna build a house, someone came up and said, hey, let me pay for 60% of it, you sign it in a heartbeat. That's kind of how I'm looking at this grant, and most water and sewer grants do not cover expansion. They only cover replacement costs and fixing, like a USDA grant. So this might be the best opportunity we have to get that investor part up and running. I'll keep you posted.
Any questions on EPA water and sewer grant update? Richard? If not, we'll move on to the next, which is Carnex property.
Okay, Carnex property. That current building is roughly a third the size of our building here. And okay. Okay, sorry, Sue. But we went down and let me see if I can flip this around for you. Okay, now let me reduce the size a bit. We went down and took a look around, took the girls from the office saying, okay, will this work? Won't it work? And where we're at right here is this is
the front of the building. This is Fifth Street. And so when you come in the front doors, you know, there's a couple offices. Currently, those offices are going up to here. Where you see dark is what we would have to fill in and do. The nice thing that the girls like about those offices is that every room had not only a big window and you get a lot of daylight, but you can open the window and get fresh air too, you know, so that was big. The clerk, as you see, it would be all office areas, a copying area. This is where the current wall is, and this is the garage. So we could kind of scrunch everyone in that front if we had to. With this wall, this back part is where the garage is at. There's things that we would have to change. There's a difference of 4 or 5 inches between the floor to step up. Maybe we put a little ramp in there, or maybe we just raise the floor, one of the two. We have to put in a second bathroom, and so between storage and different things, we kind of laid it out there a bit, and we decided, could we make it work? Yes, definitely we can. Roughly, it would be the size of this room to the front on this side. So it would be a smaller space. There are some, you know, there are some opportunities if we ever wanted to add on in that back part towards 4th Street. There's a big parking area back there. So there's potential there. Currently, Bob Yancey wants $250,000 for this. We could probably get it maybe for 240-ish. You know, right now it does have a large parking lot in the front. But we just got this drawing here a couple weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for contractors to give me a number of what it would cost to do this. You know, I don't think, because in back here, there's 2 big garage doors. Taking that out, they would have to redo these walls because the garage wall is not as thick and as insulated as a regular residential or as far as a business wall. So there'd be some internal work. We'd have to do some mechanical work in there and be done. But I guess I want to look at, if let's just say we get in that building for $230,000. What can we sell this building for? We put the same number on 230. If that end up being a wash, but we may have to still stick $75,000 to $100,000 to get this where we want it to be. I mean, so it's not going to be, you know, hey, that was a good deal as far as we it didn't cost us any money out of the pocket. However, if you look at the space in this place here, if we do get 2 or 3 businesses that wanted to purchase this and divide it up, then that's 2 or 3 more retail stores in town. So it's kind of one of those what if scenarios, but it has potential. I hope to get you that number here soon, as far as going through and getting that all renovated. Again, it has potential there, but I know in looking here, like take for example the clerk, or even the administrative assistant, you know, coming in, cutting through. I mean, it would be a bit of a maze to get in there. Those office areas would be pretty tight. Most of those office areas would be a 8x9 or a 10x10 office space. So it's nothing that once you get a desk in there that, you know, you would have a lot of room for files and such. So that was my main concern is do we have a spot that we can have a fireproof, you know, setting for all of our records and things like that. So any questions?
Apologize if this is from me being absent last month, but is there a reason that this is being looked into? Like, is there
Yeah, Jennifer, good question. Last month I had mentioned that Bob Yancey, the owner of that property, had called me and just threw out there, hey, are we interested in this property? I need to do something with it. So I threw that out in front of the council. The council, had said, well, why don't you just check it out just to see, we need to know more about it before we say, tell them no or tell them yes. And so that's kind of where we're at here. So that's why I got Tom O'Brien to sketch that out. Now I'm taking this to contractors to try to get a number. Okay, no problem. Joanne?
The parking in front of the building, would that be for public parking yet? Where they have the cars or?
If we own that,
Mhm.
yes, we can make it public parking or whatever we want. Now, currently, it belongs to Carnetza. And it depends on what they, would be willing to allow it to be used for. Right now, I know when I talked to him before about that parking, he's concerned about liability, especially since he's not in the area and such,
So
so.
the parking lot is not included in the
Oh,
building?
yeah, yes, the parking lot in front and back, that's all included, yes.
Okay.
It goes from Fourth Street to Fifth
Yeah.
Street, I'm sorry.
I'm not real estate agent, but it just boggles me that they want 230,000 when Chase went for 150-ish.
So
I
we should wait
understand
till
it.
it comes up to auction then, huh?
Well, if he wants to get out of it.
Yeah.
he'll-
There's also 3 charging stations along this area here outside, but those are not your fast chargers. Those are your trickle charge ones, but DDA had worked with them to get some charging stations in there. Again, that's something that uh we could upgrade or offer right there close to town. So I'll get you the numbers next month and but it's something that could have worked. Yeah, it could. Okay. Uh, let, as long as we get along and it's gonna be a little tighter than what we're used to, but again, if we had some uh retail stores or people that say, yeah, I want to move into here and put in this, and then if it's gonna be a nice addition to our community, I mean, that might make that decision a little easier.
Well, but at this point, if there were some retail spaces, they could go into the Chase building. There's spaces available there, right?
Correct.
So given the current state of affairs, what, the interest or whatever, I don't see the value of moving forward with this. If I guess I would need somebody to sell me on why we would bother doing it. If after you get the numbers and whatever, I mean, I just, I am not seeing the point at this point.
Right, here's the thing. Which, looking at the split between the two, because I know Alan had it was really, yes. Look at the village council, with the opinion that we were approached by the seller. This was not meant to resell out, nothing on is pushing necessarily. Pros and cons, parking lot, retail space, telephone. We're on the village council. What I'm pushing this, I don't want to say anything negative. You're positive and negative. Actually, no.
I'll put my 2 cents in again, being a business owner on this block. I was really bummed when I found out this building was going to be offices instead of retail. And more I think about it, that this should be retail. In our offices, we could move our offices. Where our other village hall was, everyone was up. A lot of people were upset when we were moving from there to here. This was wonderful move. Maybe another move is what we need. So, yeah,
Well, I'll say, I mean, I just think that with like the village is moving forward, things are really happening. And so while that could suggest that this is needed for retail space, I think that what it also suggests is that it would be a little foolish for the village to take the space that we have and downsize it. If this was moving into like a larger space or an equal space, then maybe there would be more of a conversation, in my opinion. But when it's moving into a smaller space and then it's kind of a tighter fit, and I just don't understand why we would shrink when everything is growing.
And, and move into something that needs so much work when this is. This space works very well for the things that we put on right now. It has great, like the Christmas in the Village stuff that took place in here. It was just a perfect setup. Moving into something smaller, trying to work something like that into that space. And I feel the opposite with these offices being here within the retail. It's kind of welcoming when you are going down like, to the other shop. You can see, okay, here's our village offices. We've got the promotions for the stuff coming up in the village in the window normally. I think it would be silly to move into smaller that needs so much work to get it even functioning for office space.
One concern that I have, if you're looking at where the offices are, there's 5 offices. There's a small conference room and there's a supply copy. That's all within a pretty tight area. And I worry about the noise between rooms and such like that. But again, I'm trying to stay non-biased and just give you the facts and you make those decisions. So, but if there's any other information that you feel you need or if you say, forget about it, no, that's fine too. And again, I think it would be easier if we had someone sitting there saying that I want to move here and put this up.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, and if there wasn't space available right across the street.
and the other thought is, will that building be available a year from now? Really? Maybe some of the counties are doing it, might be a better time for us to look at that.
Any more comments on the Connector building?
Not just financially, but I was here when this building was empty and the community came in and brought their own lawn chairs. And we were given a talk about this building and most of the people were opposed to moving from the old village hall, which we sold for $25,000. And that's really the old fire hall. And they were really reroofing that, the new owners that said, man, this building is 36. And they only paid 25 for this, right on, adequate, more than adequate parking down there. What a shame, you know, I'm still disgusted. I'll never get over.
Any more comments? What do you got? We're gonna move on to the next item, which is rescind the motion from February's meeting.
Okay, at that last meeting, a motion was made and looking into it. The intent was good, but, when we're dealing with the state inspector and such, they actually work for the state. So in order to correct that, I think on that situation, things have been worked out. And moving forward, pretty good, actually. And good dialogues going on between the inspector and
The inspector and the business owner. So anyway, in order to, we can't make a motion on something that we can't control. So to correct that, we need to rescind that motion. Nothing will change in the February minutes. It would just make the correction in the March minutes.
So
Right?
Yes.
Medina,
Yeah.
Bishop,
Yeah.
Miller.
Yeah.
Schmeichel. Yes. Letterman,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
motion carries.
Downtown, the last comment, district.
Barry Ellis Jr.
Only likes that three, 5, and 6. So this side share 6. If you're gonna talk to this. 5, when I get to these gentlemen. You're gonna talk about those are with. This one.
Turn up for hearing.
Share that one, share that one. Share that one, how's that? You have, the social district presentation up on. Yes. Yes. All right.
All right, hello again. So a number of times leading up over the last several months, you've heard me or others, or even 9 and 10 News, refer to the potential or the possible social district. And so what is a social district? Ron, if you could go to the next slide here real quick.
Not gonna read that vertical chart because I used to teach my students not to read the presentation word for word. If you're the presenter, the people in the audience know how to read. But here are some highlighted.
Could I get one?
Yeah, got it.
I got it. Trust I could read.
Pretty easy with this definition. That's the state's definition, but the idea is came about from COVID. The idea of outdoor seating and the ability to enjoy food and drink, particularly alcoholic beverages, in an outdoor setting beyond the legal premises of the liquor license.
And so, there we go. And so, the social district was created about 2020, I believe, here in the state of Michigan. And there were a number of communities that decided that they were going to sign on to this concept. One in particular, just our neighbors to the north, Grayling, have one of the more successful social districts in the state. I'll talk about that in just a moment. If you can go to the next slide here real quick. There are many, I believe over 100 different communities in the state that have social districts. Most of them are of course downstate, Detroit area, Grand Rapids area, suburbs, and so forth. Next slide. There's some more, and next slide. Okay, Northern Michigan has a few. As you can see, there are 16 of them, and they are listed and they are starred. You'll see there was kind of a dead area where common is. So you would fill that really dead area. To recognize those towns, you'll see that unequivocally they are resort towns. Or they host a lot of visitors in the summer, maybe College Town, Marquette, those sorts of things. But for the most part, they are resort towns. And we consider ourselves also with Higgins Lake and Houghton Lake and Lake St. Helen and the rivers and so forth, a resort town as well. And so this is something that we would like to look at. I'm not necessarily up here trying to gung-ho push this concept. Again, like we talked about with moving the hall, this is contingent of you. I really don't have one way or the other. There are a lot of potential benefits, but there could be some hangups with this concept as well. Oh. I'm sorry, you gotta look at those other ones. This is all the towns that have that social district. Next slide, please. So if you can back up one more, Ron, there you go. The social district is a district that we will form a committee and we'll decide what the parameters of our social district would be. Grayling calls their social district Brew Avenue. They did a logo. They made some literature, made some graphics, hired out people to do some graphics. And what you're going to see is, of course, you might recognize Ray's Barbecue, Spike's Keg and Ales, and the Rolling Oak Brewery over there, and downtown. And so when this district is created, you have to remember the word I always used to tell my geography students, contiguous. Everything has to be touching, all right, or one connected area. So it all has to be contiguous. You can't have one bar sitting on the other side of town having their own mini social district. It has to be all in one location and it has to be contiguous. Go ahead and hit the next slide. So when you apply for a social district, you really have to have a management plan. You have to you have to establish and publish a set of rules. Now, the state has a set of rules that I'll discuss here in just a moment, but you can add whatever rules that you want to add. So, for example, one of the examples is the idea of your public parks, whether you want to include your public parks or not, or allow certain times or even certain days. Concept I just saw this afternoon. Many of the social districts are 365 days, but a lot of the towns are starting to adopt their social districts for maybe just the weekends or just certain months out of the year. Maybe if we're a resort town, we may have the social district up and running only during the summer months. But this will be something that we, as a council, as a subcommittee of the council, would discuss and then bring back to the full council. And again, I'm not going to read all of these, but they have to do with disposing of the garbage and the using the special cups, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. Next slide. There we go. So here are a couple of examples. Alpena, you see their social district on the left is really kind of all over the place, but contiguous. And so they had some bars that they wanted to include. And to do that, they had to kind of gerrymander it a little bit, but they were able to accomplish that. And so you might have a bar here, but this might be a public park, and you might want to include that public park because, again, it's all contiguous. If you had some public park out here, you wouldn't be able to include them in the social district. And so you can get as creative as you want to be, or you can get really just dull and simple and just make it basically surrounding the downtown buildings. And that may leave a few establishments out. But again, you can see everything from a very gerrymandered version in Alpena to a very compact and rectangular version from the city of Holland. So you would also want to name your social district. Manistee refers to theirs as the Stee, off of their name. Pretty creative, I guess, or maybe not so creative, I don't know. And they even, the Stee rules, and they publish the rules, and they've got the graphic, the map that covers what that district is. In Holland, a number of the bars have a walk-up window to serve right into the social district. Here's just another example. The name can be something really, really simple like State Street Commons. If you saw the 9 and 10 news feature on the Chase Bank building, and that it would be called, or it will be called, The Common Spot. That's a play on Ross Common. And so a working title that we've had is The Common or The Commons. We'll have to maybe fine tune that a little bit, but if you have any creative ideas, I'd absolutely welcome those. So next slide. Okay, so here is again, working title, The Commons. Doesn't have to be called The Commons. That's just something I threw together. We can look at whatever we might want to call our social district. And again, so here's the proposed Wallace Hiawatha Park area. You will see that there will be plenty of public space for somebody to drink an alcoholic beverage from an establishment. But the problem here is this is the closest possible liquor license. And so by the time I walk down, and this is the future Tin Fish that doesn't exist yet. By the time I got a 16-ounce beer in a plastic cup and started walking to Wallace Park, I probably will have an empty cup by the time I got to Wallace Park. So I don't know how efficient it might be to have that. Now, understand, and I don't know this 100% for sure. So maybe Dan, or anybody that's been around for a while, no offense, Dan, but you've been around for a while. Whether people who take their canoes and launch, and we've all seen people load 2-3 cases of beer in their canoes and their tubes and so forth. To this day, I don't know if it's legal to drink in the park, but people do it. Yeah. Is there a sign that's okay? How many people obey that? Yeah. So, yeah. So I honestly believe you will probably see scofflaws drinking their Bud Light in cans than walking a beer down from one of our establishments. So again, this is something that would have to be discussed. The two yellow structures are existing liquor licenses, Fred's and Green's. Both have said that they want to sponsor this. You need a minimum of 2 liquor licenses to sponsor this. In order for Fred's and Green's to be contiguous, you see that there's quite a distance there. And there might not necessarily be the best walkways and sidewalks and seating and so on and so forth. The new owners of Fred's have expressed that they do want to be part of this because they want to do some car shows this summer, and they would like their patrons to be able to take a beer in a plastic cup out into their parking lot and walk around in the car show and so on and so forth. Again, we need 2 liquor licenses. The other 2 liquor licenses is, of course, the proposed brewery that doesn't exist yet at Chase Bank and the future Tin Fish. Now, they do have that liquor license, and they have expressed that they want to be part of the social district and be the 3rd liquor license sponsoring the social district. So they making our liquor licenses contiguous to the downtown area probably won't be that big of an issue. The issue becomes, do we want to include the craft center lawn? Do we want to go all the way down to Uncommonly Good that's got benches out front with ice cream? Do we, how far do we want to do this? And so again, this is not something necessarily incumbent on me. I would like input on what direction to go with this as we submit the paperwork to the state. Order a beverage of your choice from a participating establishment. You drink your beverage within the social district boundaries. I stole this from Manistee. You dispose of your cup in a trash receptacle because we don't want to mess. And we drink responsibly during set hours. And so this isn't anything goes necessarily. You can restrict hours, days. weeks, months, however, our municipality wants to do this. And this is, we would put out graphics and literature and social media campaigns explaining these rules. We would also have to buy some signage and put it up in those areas where the boundaries are going to be. Again, go ahead. Yeah, you can drink it all the way down the street, or you could stop at a picnic table and drink it there. You could go to Greens, go in, get your next beer and take a trip to Tin Fish or the future Tin Fish and get your next beer. And, really, I see this as not necessarily, I talked to the city manager of Grayling, and what they're seeing is it isn't necessarily Saturday. Tons of people are walking around with beers from the different establishments, but when they have their festivals and they have their music things going on, canoe things going on, that's when they see this. And this is where we are expanding and growing with our little festivals and New Year's Eve and those sorts of things. So yes, you could theoretically walk out of Fred's with a beer and walk all the way, drink your way to Greens. Yes, you could. Yeah.
I'm not seeing it yet, but does that mean people walk around in the social district with a can of Budweiser?
Thank you. I was going to bring that up in just a minute, but I'll answer it now. No, the only thing you can walk around with is a beer or alcoholic drink that has come out of one of the establishments that is a sponsor of the social district.
Somebody does abuse it and does have their own can of beer. What do we-
Somebody calls the police and they get a ticket for open alcohol, like today. If I walked out there with a beer, I'd be breaking the law. And so, but if I walked out there with a beer in a plastic cup that said Commons, I'd be fine. Yeah. Also, just to follow up on that real quick, you cannot, according to the State Liquor Control Commission, if you have a social district, I can't walk into Fred's, get a beer, walk down to Greens, and I cannot walk into Greens with my beer that came from Fred's, even though it's part of the social district cup. Inside each establishment specifically is not part of the social district, if you can understand that. Right. So a beer from one establishment cannot go to another establishment. The other thing is, believe it or not, a beer can go from one establishment to that store next door if they have a sign up that says we are alcohol friendly. So if White Pine and Pedals, for example, says we're alcohol friendly and somebody bought a beer at the brewery across the street at Chase Bank and they walked out and they wanted to shop in White Pine and Pedals, they could do that with their beer. If White Pine and Pedals, if the business owner agrees to that, business owners can say no alcohol. They can have a sign up and that's their prerogative. Thank you for asking that. Oh, signage, one of the expenses that the municipality would incur is signage. We're not talking about a huge expense. There'd probably be $1,000 or less in signage expense. Probably need 3, 4, or 5 of these, maybe 1 or 2 of these sandwich board style things explaining the rules. And so that would be a minor expense, as well as the expense of the cup. Now, what Grayling does is the city of Grayling buys the cups and then sells them at cost to the bars, and the bars purchase stickers with their bar's name on it. So if I buy a social district beer from Fred's, it's going to say Ross Common Social District, and it's going to have a sticker from Fred's, thereby not allowing me to walk into Greens with that beer. Okay, next slide. And here are some examples. These are all Michigan examples. As you saw on the map, there are quite a few communities that have the social district concept. I looked around downtown. We actually have a lot of benches. I know some of them are put away for the winter, but in the summer, we have a good number of benches out front that could be used for this. And I have a few other ideas as well. Next slide. So here is Grayling and Grayling. Both the pictures on the right are Grayling. And you see tables out here, and again, this gets back to when and how. Probably, this was more than likely during the canoe marathon. This might be some average July weekend down near the Paddle Hard Pocket Park. And we have a pocket park. And so my thought is that we could do something with that. You see, that's some random city that's got a little memorial area with benches and picnic tables. And of course, we have the craft center lawn where we could add some picnic tables and some seating as well. So on the left, that is not Roscommon's Pocket Park, but ours is about the same size. And we could, I don't, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we could spruce it up like this space became this space. We could spruce it up a little bit and make that a location where people could enjoy a drink. Now, of course, the skeptical side of me says, well, yeah, that's a perfect place for somebody to get drunk and then beat somebody up, or some nefarious sorts of activities could happen in an enclosed pocket park and outdoor drinking and so forth. But again, this gets back to, what does our community want? Is this something we want to totally stay away from, or is this something we want to actively pursue and embrace? Logo. We have not made a logo, but these are just logos from different social districts around the state. Some of these are not necessarily from the state of Michigan, but a few of them are from Michigan social districts. But the concept of a social district is nationwide since COVID. Michigan happens to be one of the states that has the most social districts. We're very proactive with that. And but they are all over the country. The one on the left, this, I messed around and threw this one together, the Village Commons. Again, not necessarily locking into any name or logo quite yet, but that's just a starter idea. Okay, so what has to happen? First thing that has to happen is I am going to meet with Maureen and Mike. We're going to be on our social district committee as well as two members of the DDA. And we were going to meet this week, but then, the Maureen situation happened. And so I'm going to try and reschedule. But this council has to pass a resolution in support. We have to include a management and a maintenance plan in that, which I have samples of. And the boundary map needs to be created. Again, I would depend on this subcommittee to do that with me. And we would need at least 2 liquor licenses sponsoring our application. And we have that in hand already. Did I pass that out already? Traverse City does not. Traverse City does not. You would think Traverse City does. Which, what you're getting from Tammy, sample resolution, it's pretty simple. We would probably steal this language and make some tweaks to it. So if you look at this resolution, it's probably pretty close to what I'm going to bring forth to you next month. And I'm also going to suggest that you have somebody like me do a social media blitz and get people here. The state does not require public opinion for passing this resolution, but I would self-impose, at least for us to get it out there and say, if you have an opinion one way or the other on a social district, because we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about allowing alcohol on the streets of Roscommon. It's a big move. And so I would recommend that we get it out to the public before the next meeting, give them all the information and let them voice their opinion. And then this council can hear that and vote to pass this resolution or not. Concerns. So I Googled what are some concerns with regards to a social district? Disorderly behavior, liability issues, open carry. You know, people can open carry a gun in public. And now they'd be able to have a gun and a beer. And so some people might be concerned of that. Now, again, there's over 103 communities that have the social district, and we have not had any issues. I specifically spoke with Eric, the village manager of Grayling, and asked him, how many incidents have you had within the social district with regards to drunken, disorderly, or arrests and so forth? And his answer was 0, which was good to hear. Absolutely 0 issues. And so they've had their social district for now going on 3 years. So that's, I mean, again, take that however you want to take it. How would we enforce it? And you know, the responsibility of the signage and the cups and so forth, and that would probably lay on the municipality, but we could throw it back to the liquor licenses and make them pay for those. Well, they're paying for them anyway. They're just funneling the purchase through the village, through the municipality. That's my presentation. What questions do you have?
Jim, one of the things that I'm seeing here under that concerns there, social district restrooms.
So
How many buildings do we have, businesses do we have that really have a public restroom?
believe it or not, number of restrooms is never addressed in the liquor control regulations. It's totally up to the municipality. Right now, we have Made Up North. Their restroom is public. This restroom is public. The Chase Bank, when that opens, that commons will be public. And of course, the Craft Center now has signs up that their front bathrooms are public.
But we're not open after 5. You know, so when you think of some of these businesses may close at 5 or 6 o'clock.
Well, then you'd have to go back into the bar you came from and use the bathroom. Yeah. Or, you know, again, quite often the biggest use that we're going to have of the social district will be when we have our big festivals and Christmas in the village and our big crowds, and we're going to have porta potties around and so on and so forth. But there are no provisions legally from the state with regards to a number of restrooms. Good question. That's a good question. Probably not. But what would happen is it would make all that residential church area contiguous to Wallace Park as well. And so the beers would be walking by the church, be walking by Don Dodge's house, be walking by, you know, so again, I don't think too many people would be necessarily opposed to that, but that's a good question. That's a good question. Now we can make it as big as we want, as far as, you know, everything's contiguous, but I just don't think it'll get used, and we'd have to maintain signage out there at the border, the hinterlands of that district. Yeah.
Once this district is adopted, can you enlarge it? Can you reduce it? Can you change size?
Yeah, we just have to repetition the state. Absolutely. Good question. Yes, we can tweak it, we can change it, but we have to go through the Liquor Control Commission to do that.
Any licenses are possible in the village?
I read, oh, possible. I believe, and this was word of mouth through the Chase Bank folks who were trying to get a hold of some licenses. Um, I don't, there aren't any more that I know of. Joanne, do you know of any more? Yeah,
Liquor license or
what's that?
liquor license.
Liquor licenses. Now, there are unlimited number of brewing licenses. If 4 breweries wanted to open where you make the beer in your establishment, those are not as restricted. So brewery licenses are unlimited. Liquor licenses are not. And I believe we're capped out on those.
And this just pertains to, this is a beer, liquor, no smoking. As far as public areas for smoking pot or anything like that.
No, you are allowed to, if it's permissible to smoke in a park, you can smoke and have that beer in that park, if the park's part of the social district. Well, that's a good question. Can you smoke weed in Wallace Park today? Are you sure? Okay, all right. That's a good answer. I didn't know that. So, yes, they do. Yeah, even without a, yes. It-
The skeptic in me says that somebody is not going to walk all the way down from Fred's with a beer and walk back to Fred's, or maybe even to Green's to get another beer. But they might have a cooler right on them that they will just refill that cup. And so it kind of feels, I don't know. I don't know that where our establishments are make a whole lot of sense for something like this. I don't think that it's laid out quite, which just makes me wonder. That's why I was wondering about licenses. Like, is there a future vision? Is there something else that's
I don't envision Fred's separating from their license, neither Greens nor the Tin Fish, the future Tin Fish, which would be the 3. Yes, it's going to be a long distance. Fred's has said that they don't want to be not included. And so for them right now, as you need 2 licenses and theirs are the only 2 businesses that are currently up and running, we kind of need Fred's because we don't know if Tin Fish is going to happen next year or the year after or
No, that's the answer.
my initial answer, I would think is no.
Oh,
No.
just a question.
Yeah.
For that reason, they could do like a cellar, hire somewhere in that area.
And also, by the way, the establishment cannot sell the alcohol in the social district. They'd have to have a window like you saw. They'd have to sell it in their establishment directly out to the social district. But they couldn't have a table, for example, out there selling their alcohol. The other thing is when we get the special beer permits for Oktoberfest, they would not be able to take those beers because the temporary beer license for Oktoberfest cannot be included in the social district. So will people probably walk around with a beer from Oktoberfest? Probably, but they can't do so legally.
Doing Oktoberfest the last 2 years, I mean, the first year we heard some negative comments. Been a success the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Alcohol served 4 o'clock till what, 10 or 11, so.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, you know, I'm for anything that brings people to town and builds our economic community. Um, yes, there might be some hangups, and I'm open to listen to these hangups, absolutely. And if this is not something our council is ready to do, then I'm okay with that. But please think it through, do some research, or call me and we can have a discussion. But Maureen and Mike will be sitting on the social district committee. If anybody else wants to sit on that committee, it's not capped. So if you want to be included, shoot me an email and I'll include you when we get that time rescheduled. But it'll be before next month. Okay. Thank you.
We move on to appointed elected village position.
A few years ago, some of you may recall, the council passed, an ordinance, allowing, our village clerk and village, treasurer positions to be appointed versus elected. Uh, and it then ended up going to vote and it was, denied. Uh, that was kind of during COVID time, if I remember correctly. Uh, one of the reasons, and after going through our audit and talking to Trent, he said this is becoming more and more common, and a lot of it has to do with the accounting practices and accounting laws continue to change, and currently, if you run for a village or even township clerk or treasurer position, you don't have to have any experience in finance or any degree. Uh, you just need to get the popular vote. And so several townships and municipalities have ran into accounting issues that occur due to someone in that position that may not be up on the current law or changes. The village of Roscommon hasn't done too bad. However, I will say in the last 5 years, we have taken in over $12 million in grant money, which is I know has put a strain on the ladies in the office. Uh, is this something that how this would work? You'd post a position just like you would any job that you're hiring for, and conduct interviews and go from there. We do have something in our policies and procedures that do refer to hiring if you have two people that are equally qualified and one lives within a village, and you give that person the nod versus someone from outside the village. Uh, it's just to me one of the most important, if not the most important job that this council and this office has to do is to protect and handling of taxpayers' money. And so it's just something that, you know, is this something that the council would like to consider? Uh, and if so, what has to happen if this ordinance is passed, then we have to post it for 45 days, I want to say, and where the public has a chance to question, even petition, that it not be that it's brought to the voters to decide upon, and then it can be voted upon. It's just you know, kind of comes down to who do you want handling your money, you know, and there are some townships I know and some municipalities that have gotten behind and had to spend additional funds to balance books and to handle their affairs. That again, that is at the best utilization of taxpayers' money. So that's why I bring this in front of you.
Do we want to make this as an appointed or elected position? Again, let's do.
I'll make a motion.
What are you making a motion for, John? Just to appoint or
Appoint
elected?
or elect village. To appoint village positions for the treasurer.
Just for
And
discussion.
clerk?
Gonna make- Just for discussion. Just for discussion. I got a first, can I get a second?
Second.
No. Second. For discussion. Yeah, for a second, discussion. Oh, yeah. Not quite a minute. And.
Mm-hmm.
For the vote, you gotta stop down.
Yes, after that last, when it went to vote, I asked our, attorney and then I verified it with the clerk. And they said, you can look at that kind of like they do some school millages in the past, they would have it up and if it got shot down, then the next date that there's a millage, you could have it on the ballot as soon as that again. The thing we can't do is if it falls in the middle of a term, we can't impose it at that point. It'd have to wait to the end of the term. So once someone's elected in, they're elected for that term and you can't disrupt that.
When would you like this to take effect? If we-
If we went ahead with this, it would take effect after the November election. So the a village clerk and treasurer will not be on the ballot in November. It would just be village council seats and village president.
But I would like to wait until this, until the deadline for filing, which would be, usually it's mid-July. July 23rd, okay. I would like to wait till then to see if anybody's going to file for this position, for these two positions. I haven't officially heard from Fran or Jan that they are not going to run again. I don't know officially, they haven't announced. I mean, maybe they are, but, and I would like to leave it in the hands of the voters. The voters turned it down before, and I would like to see, them have that opportunity again. If they want it or not.
I'd like to see somebody certified in the job to
Well,
be appointed.
everyone's been certified over the last 100 years, or since 1885, they've done it. Yeah, there's always that outside chance that somebody is. I've heard the story before, you know, that we could get somebody. What about us? I mean, our council, we're not certified. We come in here, we get-
Fire it though.
Yeah, we get elected, and well, we could fire the clerk and treasurer, we could have them recalled too if we had to, but I mean, we run for office and nobody knows us from Adam, I mean.
Well, what's the appointment process? Is that like just a hiring process?
Yeah, right. Just you look at credentials and experience and things like
They
that.
just
And
advertise it and post
Correct.
those, it's not
Correct.
just you handpick and say, I
right.
would like you to do this.
No,
job."
there'd be an interviewing process.
Okay.
And so if someone lives in the village and they want to run for that position, I mean, they could, just like a job, they could just apply for it. Now, one of the benefits of having an appointed, if, let's just say Jennifer applies for the job or runs for the clerk job and she does it for 2 years and 2 years is up and she has a better offer somewhere else and now, all right, we hire Angela. Every 2 years, you're retraining someone to do that job and sometimes when the person going out the door, they don't have the time to come back and retrain someone. I mean, you learn a lot by error, you know, and we've been lucky enough to have Fran and Jan for the time that we have, but again, I'm not sure that's the best way to handle taxpayers' money is to always have a newbie in there handling the checkbook.
Terms of 2-year term,
Yes, yes.
the appointment would be made by the council. Like,
Sure, yeah.
It was, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there any more comments on this? I just second just read that this recommendation. I think in the long run, this is kind of going to more appointed positions and money wise, this is going to be its own, like my this statement, make sure everything good, you got people who are certified to do this, like a public health type thing. Most townships are going to it. I don't know which ones, I haven't checked into it too much, so. I can go check into different townships if you like to do, if you go that route, and if you come back with information if you like, or Ron or myself. But it was just something that was brought to our attention from our auditor and want to see how we thought about it, so that's why it's been brought to our attention. Okay, so no more discussion. Next item is.
You got a person second.
Oh, sorry, for a second. Can I get a roll call to Catherine? No. Turn it down, put it on the ballot right away, or just to look for information, more information, wait till like yours said at July. I mean, that's what we're looking at, you know, we definitely need information. Well, 100%, I believe we need more information, it's just something, it's just a conversation piece just to get going, so.
I think waiting to after the July deadline would be, it would be too late. By the time you go July and you go you go the 45 days, but if someone applies for it, okay, by the deadline, then and they've done everything right as far as applying and hitting the deadline, then this would take place 2 years afterwards.
So, well, just before we vote or do anything, so I just want to make sure that I understand. So right now, the Fran and Jan are in until November,
November.
Well, actually, they're in until.
January.
December.
End of
The
December,
elections in November, they're until the end.
regardless,
Mhm.
no matter which route we
Correct.
go.
Correct.
If we do adopt this, then when their terms are up, then it's hiring people and they could, in theory, apply for these positions.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we don't adopt it, and let's just hypothetically say that neither one of them want to go on the ballot, and then what if you get somebody who really has no experience? What if it's not them that even want to? And then if it's on the ballot and that person gets even one vote, or do they have to have like a certain percentage? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just one vote.
It's on the ballot, then you get the job.
So either Fran and Jan could potentially be hired in the position, or they could be voted into the position. It's just a matter of how we want that position to be handled in a bigger picture. And making sure that it's the right candidates that are.
And the thing is, if someone is appointed and a couple of years go by and we're not satisfied with their performance, I mean, you can dismiss them and repost the position. I mean, so we have control of that. If someone's elected, they have to basically commit a felony or step down in order to remove them from that position, regardless on what type of job they're doing. And even though you say, well, the taxpayers voted a person, but we have no control. They are their own boss. If our treasurer wanted to do the job from home, he or she doesn't have to show up here at all. The clerk too. Where if they're appointed, then you got more control. Saying, okay, you're gonna work from this time to that time, or I I know right now the clerk over at, I think it's Lake City, it may have been on the news here just not too long ago. Uh, he refuses to go to any of the council meetings and take minutes and I'm not doing any of the elections and he's voted in. You know, and so by the time you go through the process of, it needs the governor's authority to remove someone. So until you go through that, and that's not a quick process, I mean, is that the best for that community, you know? And again, I'm not saying that someone's not doing the job or anything like that. I'm looking at this as, to me, one of our biggest responsibilities is the maintaining and keeping our hands on and utilizing taxpayers' money. Correct.
Now, this village has a long history of crooked people. I, when I was village president, back in, the 1990s, I had a key to Village Hall, and I used to go down there on Sundays at 4 o'clock or so, and you have to let myself in and go through the records. And I found, a water clerk that had embezzled over $2,200. Nobody knows about that. It was never publicized. And I found out she resigned and I found a letter that said, well, we accounted for all the money. And she went to work as a bartender here and the people who owned the bar were friends of mine and they loaned her the 2,200 to pay the village back, but she never paid them back. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, it goes on and on and on.
Are you saying that in support of the idea of hiring people?
No, she was hired. She wasn't elected. She was a water clerk. That was back, you know, when everything was done by hand. That was just one of the many things that I know about, and I don't want to go any further, making, you know, embarrassing the village anymore. I just did.
Well, I mean. For living about where, the village clerk, you know, for embezzlement.
Yep.
I mean, I would say if that's the position, that's probably the most common for embezzling, is probably that one.
Yeah, Little League,
And it'd
woman in
be
charge of.
nice
Little
to
League.
be able to have,
It goes on and
be able to
on.
do something about it instead of.
Well,
having
you
your hands
may not
tied.
be correcting the problem. Well, we don't have the problem right now anyhow. That's what I'm looking at. We don't have a problem. We wanna take steps that we don't need to take. That's why I said, let's wait until the election, till the candidates file. If they don't file, then let's do something. But we don't know if Fran and Jan are gonna leave us, if they're going to run again, or if we haven't gotten a resignation. So we don't know anything.
We have a motion on the table. We want to table the motion. We want to rescind the motion. Just more information. I'm not sure if you guys what you did. Okay, we have a first and second on the table. Roll call, please.
Make those. The village clerk, village treasurer to be appointed versus elected.
And this can be put up for a vote of the people by collecting 10% of the voters' signatures. This can be put up for a vote. So it doesn't. So if the public is opposed to what we're doing here, what are they?
Yeah, we'll have to spend money to put that on the ballot. Like we did last time.
I'm gonna say no.
No.
Okay, next item will be a Sabo River Center for the.
Okay, let's see if I can get back to my, yeah. Uh, yeah, Jim, I'm trying to get out of you. I'm, yeah, that's right. I'm trying to get out of your program there. Uh, thank you. Thank. Uh, one of the projects that we have talked about in regards to, in regards to just things that need to be done around the village of Roscommon is, with the success of the Sable River Center, uh, Ra has done an amazing job developing that property and it's being utilized for several things beyond our uh, farmers market. But DDA has kicked around the idea, and a matter of fact, this is nothing new. It's something that we've talked about for 4 or 5 years now. As far as putting a pavilion down there, it would be on the side of the building towards Brook Street, and roughly it would be 50 some by 80 pavilion, covered pavilion. There are farmers market, for example, everything could be under cover, especially in climate weather. We could use that pavilion for several things. One suggestion was even during the winter months, you could freeze some of that area in there and offer ice skating for local residents. Um, the original price that they put on this project was $250,000. Some of the DDA members have went to local lumberyard and worked out with them where they can get supplies at reduced costs. They would like to DDA would like to have a crew show up uh, to construct this pavilion. They have a person that volunteered to be the project manager. They have a person that volunteered to do the architect work. They already have 2 or 3 contractors said that they'd donate some time to construct this. It's something that they feel that they can have up uh, maybe by late summer, if not early fall. And it would just enhance that whole area. One of the things that we would do when you street is when you turn down Brook Street and you go past Subway and you come up to parking on both sides of the railroad track, uh, especially from that point, Brook Street might become a one. So at our last meeting, what had about was let's stop industrial. Jim Anderson, who treasurer of of the DDA, you know, had looked at that and said, you know, boy, I think if there's one thing that could belong to the system, DDA would be willing to put some money up to get this project going. To remain the balance of that project, if they could finance that through the village, just like they did for the fall, they did fund some money versus this, they may install for the like 5 years or something like that. It may have been far out, off the top of my head, but they could make payments back to the village, where with a DPU extension is the whole fall to the side. So, so
exact number yet, I guess, but I'm asking you, I think that number is gonna be around $200,000. So we put up $100,000, and we loan them $100,000 to do that project. The DDA cannot get a loan. The village can get loans, the DDA cannot. So, and instead of waiting, on this project, you know, they could fund, let's just say half all of it. We could finance the other half and work out an agreement with them as far as, how that's gonna be paid back over so many years and whatnot, and then this project could be done with something. Let me see if I have any other. Okay, this slide here kind of shows, the parking to the right, that's Brook Street there. You can see how if they made it one way, they could have some additional parking spaces there. Roughly how that pavilion would look, as far as its location and such. With some additional parking in the back place, but, I know I'm talking to, Marcy Banker, who runs the, farmers market. She was extremely grateful, and so was Steve Jock, who is the, director of, Rah and chairperson, as far as the paving data that we did this last year, that kind of cleaned up that front part and made things more accessible, and this pavilion would really complement everything that they're doing. Yeah, the roof would tie into it, yeah, it would be connected to with the under shelter or.
So the new parking lot there, proposing here, would that be blacktop or would that still be stone? At this time?
The parking in the back.
The new one, yeah, the new parking lot area that they're just creating.
Oh, we would, pave everything, clean it up so we can take care of the runoff and.
So that would be paid this year too?
They haven't necessarily talked about the paving part of it, as far as, want to get the building up and just see how they want me to re-landscape the
Yeah,
area.
well, that's, I'm just looking at, I mean, they're showing it where it is and it's just gonna be, I just wanna know if it's gonna be blacktop or not. So.
Yeah. Sue, are you still with us? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry, very difficult to hear, but so the pavilion will butt right up against that blacktop area, Mike. It will continue. I'm not sure if Ron showed you just a preliminary drawing that we had, but along the face of the building will continue down, keeping the same type of facade. And then going back towards the long 80-foot would go back towards the Main Street area. So I think that the use of the area has picked up significantly with our farmers market. I mean, Marcy's having, you know, over 30 vendors. They really need that space, especially within inclement weather. This could really just continue the flow without losing, you know, that economic, you know, impact that a rain day would have. And then for all of our special events. And then the other option, I think, I heard Ron make comment to, is the possibility of putting a barrier lining down and flooding that for ice skating in the winter. That's a nice size space, and that is the problem. The reason why we didn't have ice skating at Metro Park is because the sun is difficult in maintaining the ice, but having, a, an over, a roof, you know, over top of it and the cold, slab underneath it could keep the integrity of the ice, and we could, click that off of our, recreation plan as a patient or as a, community, request, as well. So, this is, you know, been something like Ron said, we had, Fleece and Vanderbrink drop, some plans about 4 years ago when Lance was, in the DPW, and graciously, Tom O'Brien has, redone, some of these plans, and I think this new, community build will not only, show the strength of Roscommon, but also, really shine a light on the direction that we're moving as a community and the amenities that we're providing for, all of our residents.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Okay, so I think we're looking at making a motion to go ahead and move forward with this or not?
I'll make that motion. And when you say move forward, you mean the loan and
Authorizing me to reach an agreement with the DDA once we know the exact numbers, and trying to just draw it up so we can get this project going.
it's turned into a real boom for this community, that farm market and everything. It's, and, you know, I'd like to thank Sue Jock. If you can hear me, Sue.
Thanks,
Uh,
Dan.
thank
I
you.
do have one more thing to add, though. If somebody is gonna put together a motion, it might save some time in the future, but, if that, with the drawing, Ron, I'm not sure what drawing you showed, but if that road, regardless what way it goes, if it goes from Main to Fifth or from Fifth to Main one way, that changing that to a one-way, I'm not sure if that would have to be something that would have, be decided by the village council as well, but if, maybe you could take care of that as well.
Good point, Sue. Thank you.
It is a village street, so the village, we'd probably have to have maybe a public hearing or something before we do that. You may have to. Tell them that. Well, MDOT does.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. Actually, you guys call railroad company. So, yeah, they'll be invested in it.
Yeah, well, anyway, I make that motion to move forward.
Do you include the closing in one way or do you want?
Well, we're gonna have to decide on that one.
Cause that's what her motion, that's what you're trying to say, the motion.
Yeah,
Put that in there.
you have to make that road a one-way
Yeah.
or close it, one of the two, but it doesn't make any sense to close it.
No,
then
'cause you're gonna need
the
access.
cars can't get out, so.
And then there's an alley that goes around
Yeah.
behind the phone company too.
So, and I didn't encompass that and was within the motion as far as to, grant village manager the authority to work out an agreement with DDA, for the, construction of the pavilion as well as the reconstruction of Brook Street to a one-way.
Yeah, but first, can I get a second, please? Okay, we got first, second, any discussion? Tony?
I want to add about the farmer's market. I talked to them there over the years. It was like a 3-year farmer's market. Yeah. 2 miles around. And, that one phone. People that come from the phone area. We can look at more traffic.
Agree. I've gone to, normally if I'm in different communities, I try to hit the farmer's market and such, and I've shown up someone, they have 6. And they're like, you know, I mean, it's like, this is it, you know, and so, so yeah, we have this amazing farmer's market.
Well, help our too, they don't know, they have like a lot of variety, and a lot of them, they don't have farmers. So we, you know, we really allow our people to more open than.
Okay, we got a first and second, roll call please.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Next item is renaming Hiawatha Canoe Livery, Mr. Medina.
Well, we're, but I don't know, the part, I don't know, the project, and how informally been referred to as Hiawatha Park. As I said in my letter, I don't think Hiawatha really has like a strong significant value in Roscommon, and we should come up with a name more unique. I'm partial just to making it all one Wallace Park. Keep it all Wallace Park. I talked to Jim earlier in the year and he mentioned maybe something about changing Wallace Park, but I don't think that's really a good idea because no matter what you name it, there's gonna be Wallace Park. Kind of like Pine Knob, they changed it to VT Music Theater, it was still Pine Knob. But regardless what we call it, I think the council should be the ones to formally name it. Whether we keep it Wallace Park, keep it Hiawatha Park, maybe name it after, predominant community member. Or make a contest or something like that, have the community. Maybe take some names and then we can narrow it down to a couple and then we can maybe vote on the name or.
Okay.
Okay.
He was like he ran the DPW bill.
And the Wallace family lived catty-cornered back along Robinson Creek there behind the Congregational Church. It's one of the original schools. They lived there for a number of years and the whole family, I mean, they ran we had a power plant here. The Wallace family ran that and they just did a lot of things but Teddy worked by himself and did a lot of snow plowing and everything with a truck. And so they named the park after him as I don't know whether it was when he retired or when he died, but anyway, he did whatever he had to do to get by. I mean, the village didn't have the money back then that we've got now. And so that's how it got the name Wallace Park. I think there's a plaque down there with his name on it, but so I don't think it would be a good thing to take that name and dissolve it because of what Teddy did.
The council decided to do on that, it just, when we give it done and sort of, I think it's, they use everything in that agreement.
Is
I want to know that once it's completed, they can do whatever they want at that time. And, since we started on it, then and sort of doing it as, we can name it, but, I thought the rule, but never even done it, but anyway, that's, something to think about.
okay.
Make it happen. Any more comments on renaming Hiawatha Canoe Livery? If not, we'll move on to discussion items. Anybody got any discussion items? If none, we'll move on to public acknowledgement. 2 minutes per speaker. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's a good idea. So McCready Landing is my vote. The social district, we got to participate in one in Grand Haven on a hot summer day, and it was absolutely wonderful. There was a beautiful art festival going on, fine arts, about a 3 or 4 block area, and they had a food truck, but it was a liquor cocktail, so they were selling out of it. And you knew where you could go, and there were big signs, which we all obeyed. You know, you're done with your drink at this point, here's trash. But it was very nice. I could see how it could get abused, but I could also see how it could be a great benefit towards bringing people in and just walking around and enjoying the day. Like I said, it was a hot summer day and it was so nice that they had a food truck converted to liquor, where their liquor license had done that.
All the best. Any other public acknowledgement from the audience? Mr. Dixon again? Mr. Perry Senior here? We may have an answer.
Just like you said, the original, that particular name, I've only here for 2 years, but quite frequently benefactors are looking to get rid of excessive dollars, and when they can put them into community projects because would have their name on it. For example, you know, there's an adjacent property to the west. Adjacent to a west is a very large tract of land from a significant family in Roscommon. Maybe they want to donate a significant amount of that land to do a walking path, a nature trail. And, or maybe they want to name the bridge. You want to help pay for it. So if you look out at the businesses and families that have been around for a long time, they might be interested in doing that because they want to have their name carried forward. So that's just another option to look at.
Look at some of that, then, matter of fact, the bridge, pedestrian bridge is gonna be the Perry Ellis path, so thank you for your donation.
Thank you, Mr. Perry Senior. Any other public acknowledgement? If not, we'll move on to council comments. Mr. Medina.
All right, I hear a lot of people talk about stuff they want to see in town. Some of them, the big ones, a grocery store, more restaurant options. You know, we talk about housing. And it's even in our Village of Roscommon Master Plan survey we did last year. It starts with retail, food and groceries, restaurants. Lodging opportunities is a big one. Offices, institutions like churches and adult foster cares, industrial, manufacturing. And way at the bottom of the list, with only 4 people saying they want them, is storage facilities. So I come up with a type of a list of facts about these storage facilities I like to share with everybody. The first concern is land use concerns. The storage unit buildings often occupy valuable land that could be used for more economically productive purposes such as commercial or residential developments. They have limited job creations. They require fewer employees compared to other types of developments, contributing less to local job growth. Minimum economic stimulus, because unlike other businesses that generate frequent customer visits, storage units do not typically drive regular spending in the local community, limiting their contribution to the local economy. And there's reduced property tax revenue. Storage units may not generate as much property tax revenue as alternative developments, impacting the funds available for local infrastructure and services. Negative aesthetic impacts. Large storage unit complexes may have a negative visual impact on the local landscape, potentially affecting property values and the overall appeal to the area, and may deter other residential or commercial developments. There's also environmental impacts. Construction and maintenance of storage units may have environmental consequences, potentially affecting the local ecosystem and natural resources. And there's also the risk of abandonment because of economic downturns or changes in demand, which could lead to the abandonment of storage units, leaving vacant spaces that don't contribute positively to the local economy. And I wrote a letter to the editor to this effect, and I also shared it with every elected official in the county. I don't know if you're aware, but Roscommon Township
has passed a temporary moratorium on these facilities because there's something like 2.5 storage units for every resident in their township. And this is a growing problem in this area. I saw Dan shared something from Traverse City area that people there complain about these storage units being built. Being eyesores, and I think it's something that we should look into and limit them or cap them or ban them or something before they get out of control. That's all I got.
Mr. Mitchell. Okay, I'm sorry for losing the clue about, we were very fortunate to have on all of them. Probably already, we've had managers here, there was one 6 months, and one of the, we've had a long list of them, it's like this is a stopping point. So Ron, I wasn't in favor of Ron, I was looking at the guy from Bay City when we were interviewing here. Ron is, he's from here, no, he's not from here, he's from Chesapeake, but he's sticking it out, and he's really involved. I mean, you can see that with all these grants and stuff he's working on, and I'm sorry for being opposed, but you know, you can't be, agree on everything, Ron. But Ron, Ron talked to me about this appointment thing, and it's just my opinion. But anyway, that's one thing. And Sue Jock, she probably can't hear me, but she's done a fantastic job over the years here. I mean, she doesn't have to do these things. She could be in Hawaii or somewhere, but she's here doing these things. And one more thing, Linda back here mentioned about it being McCready Landing. Linda's family has done an awful lot. Her father cut out the Tisdale Triangle hiking. Bob, he was a regional forester here. He did that, and her mom Julie, she worked in the Sable River Center before, it was over there back in the courthouse. Julie was an outstanding person. She's an artist, and she's done a lot for the community. So if we're gonna put any names on anything, there should be something Borak. It should be there. Yeah. So anyway, that's and one more thing, Ron mentioned there's a food driving. So usually in March, the historic or senior center, they have one at it's now down at the VFW, and they usually have one like the 3rd or 4th Monday in March. It's March, June, September, and November. So there could be one. I don't know the exact date, but you'll see a sign down there. That's about it. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Smeckley, you have anything? Mrs. Cook.
Shout out to our high school, for their accomplishments.
Thank you. Mrs. Lebanon.
Yeah, I have a report from Mr. Cesar Valley on the latest things and maybe some of the signs ordinance that we have downtown. And maybe briefly forward on the property behind the post office. So let's see what's going on there. I know we talked about it, but then I would like a porta potty on the third. Yeah. Right on the bridge. Right there. Don't let you go.
To be the new bridge. That's the new pedestrian bridge over Wallace Park. It'll be Steve Perry Ellis's name.
It could be the Borak Bridge.
It could be a lot of things. Okay, I'd like to say thank you guys for coming out and doing what we do. Thank you, Mr. Perry for doing everything you guys do. DPW, thank you again. Mrs. Mesner and Mr. Dixon for coming out to our meetings, and also just to give you an update. I may be missing a couple meetings. The next couple months, I got a couple surgeries coming up. So I don't know if I'll be able to sit here, so I'll let you guys know ahead of time. So Ms. Cook, you may have to step in. So just to let you know. So that's all I have for that. Items for next agenda.
Did I understand so far? I'm sorry, Tom. We'll just, maybe follow up on our virtual meetings. I think maybe we need to address this microphone issue.
Yeah, they just need batteries.
Or maybe just, we'll see how it's going, see how many views we're getting, that kind of thing.
The deck for them?
Sensors. Broken wires.
Anything else for our next agenda? If not, I'd like to look for adjournment. Can I get a motion?
I mean,
All in favor?
I.
Passed. You guys have a good night. Thank you.